Justin here with the Limestone Library, and I'm very excited to welcome you to our first day of our e-summer reading program. For this first week, we're going to be talking about cooking, and today I have a new and fun way to make breakfast burritos. So, let's get started. One of my favorite things about this recipe is that you only really need 4 ingredients. The first thing we have are tortillas. You can make your own too if you'd like, but that'll make this recipe a lot less simple, I think. So we have tortillas, green onions, bacon, and eggs over here. So, the very first thing that we'll want to do is get everything that we need ready to go before we even turn any heat on. Okay, we are recording, excellent. Okay, so we've done that. We've cracked a couple eggs and we've whisked the eggs, so that's all ready to go. And in this pan, we cut the bacon, and then we cook the bacon as well. You'll really want to cut the bacon for these breakfast burritos, otherwise you're gonna get a bite of tortilla and eggs, and then you're gonna pull out a whole strip of bacon. So I really do recommend chopping it up. It just makes it a lot easier to eat. Okay, so after we cooked the bacon, we dumped out some of the bacon grease. I would say most of it, probably 90% of it, and we've kept some in the pan still. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring this pan up to heat. I have it on medium-high right now, but we are gonna lower it a bit. I do want it to get up to heat a little bit quicker though, so we're not really waiting around. So, what we're going to do, we have I don't even know if you can see it, but we have a very small amount of bacon grease in here. Not really enough to puddle, but enough to cover the pan. And we're going to put, it's almost a meme at this point, but we're going to put a small amount of butter, and I really do mean a small amount of butter. I'm not talking Paula Deen, she puts her butter in, which I definitely follow that normally, but for this recipe, we really, we already have the bacon grease in here. We really do just need a small amount of butter, and we're going to talk about why later. So let's get that in there, get that melting, bring that pan up to heat. We're done with our butter. We might use some later. It kind of depends on what the eggs look like. And once this butter is melted, we'll go ahead and put our eggs in. And it's really important here that we haven't done anything to our eggs. We haven't seasoned them. We didn't use salt and pepper. We are going to use salt and pepper today, and we're going to keep it really basic. You guys can use whatever spices you want. I like just kind of leaving that open, but we're going to leave it really basic with just salt and pepper today. So once that butter's melted, we're going to lower the heat just a little bit. Again, we brought it up to heat so that we can get the pan nice and hot, and then we're just going to lower it a little bit because we are cooking eggs in this. We don't want to burn the eggs. We want to slow cook them a little bit. So, I'm reasonably confident that the pan's not too hot. We're going to lower it just a little bit more. You really don't want to burn your eggs, I'm telling you. Alright, so, dump these in, and that's pretty much exactly what you want to hear, if you even heard it. It's just a very light sizzle. You don't want them screaming at you. You want a very light sizzle. And what we're going to do is, it almost looks like we're going to be making scrambled eggs, but we're not. We want it all in one sort of homogeneous blob for this breakfast burrito. And you can make your burritos with scrambled eggs. This is just a new way to do it, that's all. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to make sure that the edges don't stick. I highly recommend a rubber spatula for this. I wouldn't cook eggs with anything else. And we're going to kind of do this like we're making an omelet, almost. We're gonna sort of very lightly push this in the middle, and then we're bringing the uncooked part into the gap there. And when you cook your eggs here, I'm doing a lot of shaking. I want to try to incorporate as much air into the egg as possible. It just gives it that nice fluffy taste. So, and now I've taken it completely off the heat. The pan was really, really hot already. That's kind of your job. It depends on what the stove is. It depends on how hot the pan is. it's really hard to gauge. I just looked at the egg. I saw the egg was cooking already, and I took it off the heat because it was already too hot for me, which works out perfect because then you guys can see exactly what I'm seeing a little bit better. So now we're going to take it off the heat again, and we really do. I mean, we really want this egg to cook nice and slow. Now, I think this is enough. We have about half of it's cooked, I would say, and half of it's not. It's still pretty runny. What we're going to do now is we're going to stick a tortilla on top. I'm going to put this over here just so I have the utmost control of the heat as I can. And we're going to break out a tortilla. And we have small little tortillas that I think they're about 6 or 8 inch. You can get the 10-inch ones, and it should still fit in this pan just fine. But this is what we're going to do today. This is what we got in the kitchen. So, this is pretty hot already, and again, you don't want to salt and pepper your eggs. I still wouldn't even do it here. The salt's going to break down the proteins in the eggs, and I think you're going to get a texture that you don't really like. So, stick that back on the heat. Tortilla in, and what we're just going to sit here and wait now. We've already kind of basically made our omelet. We've incorporated enough air into it so that hopefully it's nice, light, and fluffy, and a pleasant eating experience. And we're going to stick our tortilla on top of it. So it's going to do a couple things. It's going to steam the tortilla, which is fantastic. And it's also going to cook the egg, but we left enough runny part of the egg so that when the tortilla steams and the egg cooks, they should bind together, and we're going to flip it. Now, I've only done this a few times. It doesn't always work perfectly. And I really would say this portion of the cooking probably takes about 50 seconds. I haven't set a timer. That's my mistake. But we're going to do our best here and just sort of monitor the eggs. We're going to take this off. See, these edges, they still look kind of runny. That's not ready to flip yet. So we're going to leave the heat on pretty high still. And I said we were going to talk, and actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring some of that egg over here. I don't want the egg to really be sort of overflowing out of the tortilla when I'm going to roll it later. So we're going to bring that out just a little bit. And if you want, at this point, I guess you could put butter on the tortilla. That'd be pretty cool. But there already should be enough bacon grease and butter on the pan. I think you should be okay with that. So this was why we left the bacon grease in after cooking the bacon, and we put a little bit of butter in, because we're about to flip this guy, and we don't want anything sticking, otherwise it'll totally ruin this bind that we have of this sort of omelet with the tortilla. And yeah, the tortilla's still a little cold, so when we took the pan off, we brought down the heat a lot, so it is still taking just a little bit longer to cook. I'm just gonna increase the heat a little bit. I'm still under medium here on my stove. Everyone's stove is different, but you want to err on the side of a nice low heat. You really don't want to cook this too fast. And this egg, I'm touching it and it's still falling apart. It's coming apart onto the rubber spatula. So we'll leave it in here a little longer. Something I've never done when I've cooked these, I've never overcooked the egg. I've never been in danger of that. As long as the heat's nice and low, never had to worry about overcooking the egg. What I have done is not cook the egg enough. I go to flip it, and the whole thing falls off of the tortilla. That might happen today. I don't know. But one thing that you can kind of do to prevent that is, and I hear some sizzling. I don't want to hear sizzling. Something to prevent that is kind of what I did. You get some of the egg that sort of overflows on the side. Oh yeah, and see, we still have some runny egg there, which is okay. We'll just cook it a little bit longer. We want to make sure this isn't sticking. Everything seems to be good. It seems like it's not really going to stick. So we'll stick that back on. So if the egg is overflowing, you can kind of wrap it around the tortilla if you have a smaller tortilla compared to your pan size. And then that should make it a little bit easier to flip without losing your whole omelet there. While this is going, I'm just going to start, and we're going to get rid of this plastic bag. I'm sure that sounds really pleasant on the camera. I'm going to start with chopping up some green onions. I didn't chop these in advance because I wanted to at least talk about how to cut them. Again, I'm a very basic home chef, and I want to make other people very basic beginner home chefs as well, who can, just cook a simple meal. That's really what I'm after, is simplicity and healthy meals. Now, so what we're going to do is when we do this, when we cut anything, we're going to use the 3-finger method. Our middle finger is, am I even on camera? Our middle finger is in front of our other 2 fingers here, and we're just going to curl here, and we're going to cut like this so that our knuckles push the blade away from our fingertips. And that's how you would normally want to cut with green onions. You're going to have to kind of pinch them together first, and then you can do that 3-finger method. And then we'll just, even if you don't have exemplary knife skills, that's okay. The best thing to do is just to walk instead of run. And that is perfectly fine in place of, just these fantastic knife skills that some people have. And we're going to cut, I think that's a good amount of green onions. If it was for me, I would cut more, but it's for the wife, so I don't think she likes green onions as much as I do. All right, let's get these put away. Okay, so green onions are done, tortillas done, eggs done. I hear some sizzling. I think this is about done as well. So these eggs are looking good. I'm going all the way around. It's coming up. It's not sticking really at all. So I think we're ready to go. All right. And if you need another spatula, I use this to cook the bacon. If you need another spatula, you can always do that, but use both, I guess. But we should be fine. And we just had a little bit of egg come apart. But pretty perfect. I am mostly pleased with this. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to take this off the heat because I want to explain all this first so that I don't have to talk while I'm doing it. We're going to raise the heat quite a bit to toast the tortilla. But we don't want to toast it too much. You don't want a really, really hard tortilla, and then you go to wrap it, and the whole thing just crunches and falls apart. So we're just going to kind of crisp the tortilla a little bit. We want it on, I would say, medium-high heat for maybe about another 45-50 seconds. It's about the same amount of time that it would normally take for the egg to bind to the tortilla before you flip it. But honestly, that part maybe takes longer, the egg to bind to the tortilla. You really don't want to crisp the tortilla for very long. So we're going to crisp it for, as we dress this, we're going to crisp it for about 45 seconds. And then once it comes off and it hits the air, the cool air, and it comes off onto the plate, that tortilla is going to dry and it's going to be even crispier. So it's going to finish cooking after we take it out of the pan. Again, you really don't want to over crisp your tortilla. You're going to ruin your burrito unless you like it like that, which is perfectly fine. But I like to fold mine. Okay, so we really only just need to dress it with the bacon. So that's fantastic. So if you have other toppings, cheese. Oh my goodness, guys. We're gonna just move you guys a little bit. You're in front of my fridge. All right, cheese. All right, and move you back. Okay, I think that's good. All right. So I lied in the intro. 5 ingredients. You really need cheese with eggs. I really think you do. Okay. Goodness. That would have been a disaster. It would have been my burrito, actually. Okay. So, we'll get our cheese on. A lot of cheese. Like I said, not for me. It's for the wife. She likes a lot of cheese. But honestly, I do too. I would do the same thing. Okay. So we have our cheese. We can put the bacon on now if we wanted to. Here, we're going to heat this up just a bit. I'm going to do medium heat since I'm talking as well. But now is the time to salt it. And with eggs, you want to be really careful with salt. It's extremely easy to over-salt them. And you're probably wondering, like, okay, that was a lot of salt. My salt shaker is, it gives very, very teeny, tiny little grinded up bits of salt. So I did have to use a lot, but I hear some sizzling. We're gonna bring that down. You really do not want to use too much salt in eggs. It is easy to oversalt them. With that being said, we did add a lot of ingredients. We have the tortilla, we have a lot of cheese, so a little bit more salt than usual might be okay. Okay, so we're gonna switch to this spatula now. Make sure this doesn't stick. We should be good. And I'm gonna cook it just a little bit longer. We're going to raise that heat. We do want to crisp the tortilla, like I said, but not too much. We want more crispy, not crunchy. And we'll leave the green onions aside for now. Let's pick up our mess, our panicked mess after we forgot the cheese. And that's enough sizzling for me. We don't want that plate. We're going to set that aside. We want a new clean plate, not a bacon plate. Well, a bacon plate wouldn't be too bad, honestly. It just had the cooked bacon on there. Let me get this off here. Yep. Get the rest of the bacon. And what I like to do here, yeah, that's pretty hot. What I like to do here, of course, we're going to put the green onions on after. And very important, with your cutting boards and your knives, scrape the green onions onto the burrito with the dull side of the knife. You don't really want to, otherwise you'll have two dull sides on your knife. So with the dull side of your knife, just scrape that right on there. We'll set this aside. We got our salt, pepper, that's done. Dress this up a little bit. And what I like to do, get that to the center of the plate, what I like to do is let the person who's eating it fold it. But this is what we got. It's a smaller tortilla. I really think I would recommend a bigger one, maybe like a 10-inch and a slightly bigger pan, but you can make this pan work too. All right. This is our creation. Pretty easy. Like I said, five ingredients. I really think the bacon and the green onion and the cheese are a necessity. I wouldn't go without it, but you can add other stuff too. You can add other spices. It's a fantastic quick little breakfast that you guys can do, really even just right before work. It doesn't take that long. It's not that long to prep it. It's a fantastic meal. So, all right, stay tuned. On Wednesday, I'll be cooking in an iron skillet. I'll be cooking pork chops, well, a pork chop, and broccoli as well in the iron skillet. So that's just a really simple dinner that really anyone can make. It doesn't take very long, and it's super healthy. You just have your meat, you have your veggie, not very many carbs at all. So, all right, stay tuned for that on Wednesday, and I'll see you all later. Bye.